Hey, how you doing? Just woke up not too long ago. Feeling great. Anyways, well, we're gonna go over the power in the non-principal meridian. Someone had a question about that, and so I'm gonna make a video about it. But I'll just go over the equation for it, what it means, and then just how to do it. And I'll just use one of the prescriptions that were in the example/problem slides that Dr. Pratt sent out. So I'll just use that one of them, and hopefully that will just help you know how to do the rest. So anyways, so we have this equation, and I just kind of put it into variables from Dr. Pratt's slides, but basically it is power of the oblique meridian is equal to, so this is the one we're trying to find, right? Equal to the sine, and I put it as A. So A, which is the difference between the access angle and the wanted angle, right? So we'll talk about that in a sec. So, and then times that by the power of the sill plus the power of the sphere. So let's go ahead and just do this one right here. So we have this prescription minus 250, minus 3, axis 85. And we're trying to find what is the power on the 45, okay, on that oblique angle. So we're going to try the power of that angle is equal to sine of 85, because that's our axis, 85 minus 45 squared, times our sill, minus 3, plus our sphere, minus 2, plus a negative 250. Great. So let's simplify that down a little bit. Palm equals sine of 40. We'll square all of that once we get it. Times a negative 3 plus a negative 250. Okay, so I'm going to put that in my calendar. So I'm going to find the sine of 40. Sine of 40. And I get... Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Okay. I get sine... Nope, I already did the sine. Sine of 40, I get 0.64273... Oh, 278... 7, 6, so on and so forth, squared times a negative 3 plus negative 250. So I'm going to square what we found. We're going to square the sine of 40 that we just found. And I got a 0.4131,759, so on and so forth. I'm going to times that by a negative 3. And that will give us a negative 1.23952, so on and so forth. And I'm going to add that to a negative 250. And that will give us a negative 3.739. I'm just going to round it to the 4 diopters. So anyways, that was just kind of me walking through it. But once you get it, just kind of think about it, as we go from this meridian to this meridian, that power is going to gradually increase until it hits negative 550. And then it's going to gradually decrease, and then we hit negative 250 again, and so on and so forth. And so if we're looking at this angle, does it make sense that it would be a negative 3.74? Yeah, I feel like it would. So anyways, that's how we find that angle. Let's do at the 90. So at 90 degrees. Okay. So the angle that we need is this one right there. So palm, so the power of the oblique meridian times the sine of 90 minus 85, right? Squared times the sill, negative 3.0 plus negative 250. Okay, so I'm not going to write out everything for this one, but I'll talk it through as I plug and chug. So 90 minus 85, that's going to be 5. So I'm going to find the sine of 5, square that, times that by negative 3, because that's the sill power, and then add that by negative 2.5. And I'm going to get a power on that oblique meridian, or the 90 that we were talking about, of negative 2.52 diopters. Okay, so now let's think about it. Does it make sense that it would be just slightly more than the sphere power? Yeah, because we're just 5 degrees off it going towards that negative 550. So it makes sense that would just be a negative 2.52. Let's find it now at the 80. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can think about it. You can try and do from here to here, or you can do it from here to here. Either way, you will get the same answer. So I'll do both so you can see that. So let's start out with this larger angle from here to here, okay? So POM equals sine 180, holy cow, minus 85 squared times negative 3 plus negative 2. Okay, so 180 minus 85, that's going to be a 95. So I'm just going to talk it through. I'm not going to write it out. But so we'll find the sine of 95, square that, times that by negative 3, add that to the negative 250, and we get a negative 5.48 diopters for the 80. And again, think about it. Does it make sense? Yeah, because we're really close. That meridian's power of negative 550 is at 175, so literally 5 degrees off. And so it makes sense that it's only 0.02 diopters off, which kind of matches up with this. This was only 0.02 diopters off from that meridian's power, so it's kind of neato. Anyways, let's do it the other way. So if we were to use this angle right here, so that's pretty easy because the axis is just 85 since that's 0, right? And so or not the axis, the angle, I mean. So POM equals sine of 85 squared times a negative 3 plus a negative 250. Okay, so let's do that. So let's find the sine of 85, square that, times by negative 3, add it to a negative 2.5, and again we get negative 5.48 diopters. So but yeah, so anyways, with that equation, you can think of it as the difference between what you want to know and what you have. But if you were to draw out the optics cross, you can kind of just think, okay, where is it from this to that meridian that I want to find the power of? So that might save you time, especially when we're doing 180. The 180 meridian, you can just be like, okay, if we're at axis 36, well, 0 is the same, or excuse me, doing the equation for the distance from 180 to 36 and 0 to 36, will come out the same. So that might save you some time when doing your math. But you know what, let's do one more. Let me pull up another prescription. We'll just cruise through it. Let's do the second prescription on the example. So we got a plus 9.25. Let me erase that. Plus 9.25 minus 450 access 0.3, or excuse me, 335. And I'll just quickly draw that. It's going to be like here to here ish. Okay. And so we'll say this is the 35. And is that the 35? I'm in a brain fart right now. Yeah, that works. And then 35, this will be the math of my brain, 125. Great. And then we have, I'll draw out the cross just for fun, plus 9.25, and then 9.25, we get a positive 4.75. Okay. So let's find this one at the 45 real quick. And I'm not going to draw it, but let's go ahead and write out the equation. So the power of the meridian that we're trying to find, which is at the 45, is equal to sine, and we'll do 45 minus 35 squared times the cell power, which is a negative 450, and add the 9.25. Okay, so I'm just going to talk it through. We'll do a sine, 45 minus 35, that's going to be 10. Sine of 10, square that, times it by negative 450, add 9.25 to that. And so we'll get a power on that meridian of a positive 9.11 diopters. So again, just think it through. Okay, does that make sense that if it were right here, does that make sense that it's a little bit, it's at 9.11 compared to 9.25? Yeah, it does. Because we're slowly approaching that lower power of plus 4.75. Okay, let's do it real quick at the 90. So palm, oopsies, equals sine, and we'll do 90 minus 35 squared times it by the CIL, which is a negative 4.5, and then add that to the sphere power. Okay, so 90 minus 35 is 55, so we'll do the sine of 55, square that. Whoa, just double squared it, that was crazy. Okay, I think I'm good here. And then add that, or excuse me, multiply it to negative 4.5, and then add a 9.25. Okay, so that says, I'm going to do that one more time because I think I screwed up the math. So 90 minus 35, 55, sine of 55, square that, times it by a negative 450, add that to a 9.25. Oh, that looks better. Okay. So if we were about right here at the 90, it says that it should be the power at that meridian, oblique meridian, would be a 6.23. Double check, my math might be wrong, but anyways, let's do it at the 80 real quick. So again, you can do 180 minus 35 and do it that way, but I'm just going to go from 0 to 35 since 180 and 0 are the same. So I'll do palm equals the sine of 35 squared times a negative 450 plus 9.25. Let's make sure I have all that right. Okay, so find the sine of 35. Ooh, not the tan. Find the sine of 35 squared. And then do a negative, multiply by negative 4.5. Syntax error, there's no way. Oh, I did subtract, silly me. There we go. Oh, that still doesn't. Well, start again. So the sine of 35, square that, times that by negative 4.5, and then add 9.25. And that gives us a power of 7.7. Let's put a positive in front of that. Positive 7.77 diopters. So again, just kind of think about it again. It doesn't make sense that right here would be 7.77 diopters. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So anyways, hopefully this helps. If you need more help, just ask me on like Monday. If you're watching this in the future, you can still ask me on a Monday or anytime. But anyways,